Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. I just need to let all of the viewers on social media know that the live stream is getting ready to start. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get started with tonight's show. And it looks like the audio is working out fairly well. So I'm going to get started. Now, tonight's show is where I'm going to make some observations regarding Halle Berry's bitterness. Now, over the last week or so, your Halle Berry made several posts on Instagram where she tried to make an attack on all men after her relationship with her now Reese former boyfriend, I think his name was Van Hunt, had fallen apart. And after this relationship with Van Hunt had fallen apart, Halle Berry took to Instagram to try to attack all men. And when I take a critical examination of your Halle Berry, she has really grown bitter in her older age. And as she has grown bitter in her older age, she is now expressing all sorts of anger and contempt against men. Now, over the course of this live stream, I want to try to make some observations over how a woman gets to this point, because the reason why they get to this point, it has to do with the life paradigm they have learned growing up. And this is something I went in depth in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And in that book, I went in depth on the life paradigm as related to what was keeping so many Black women single. And when I look at Halle Berry, her life model is one that fits right into the life paradigm I talked about in my book, 70% of Black women are single. And your Halle Berry, what's keeping her single, as I see it, was the complete spiritual miseducation she received in her home. Now, when I look at Halle Berry, the foundations of her home life, it was the foundations of her home life that created the paradigm that keeps her single and keeps her from having a healthy relationship with a man. Now, the model of relationships your Halle Berry learned was a dysfunctional one from day one. Now, according to a report as related to Halle Berry's half sister, her father went and got involved with Judith during the time when they were having like he had left his Black wife to get with Judith, and then after he got with Judith, he then had Halle and Heidi as daughters. And that, as I see it, was the start of the core as related to the start of Halle Berry's problems as related to relationships. Her foundation was not something based in something functional. It was based in dysfunction from day one because her father was not really somebody who was in as related to a committed relationship with the mother. And the relationship, I believe, between Halle's mother and father deteriorated because of racism and white supremacy. Because when a black man gets involved with a white woman, what happens is white supremacy brings down its full force on that black man. And I believe that having to deal with the racism and white supremacy that he was dealing with, this is what led to the deterioration of Halle's mother's marriage. And this is the thing that may possibly have led to what she alleges as related to the domestic violence that Halle allegedly saw between her father, Jerome, and her mother. Um, and I believe that's the thing that led to the model being dysfunctional because as they saw this racism going on, this is the thing that led to the relationship falling apart. And this is what led to Halle Berry seeing all of this dysfunction. And because she saw this dysfunctional relationship between her father and her mother, I believe this caused some sort of mental trauma in your Halle Berry at an early age, subconsciously, and subconsciously led to her perceptions of men being what they were. I believe that's one of the reasons why she has such a dysfunctional perception of men. And I believe that foundation is why your Halle Berry has never had a healthy relationship with a man because she never really had a healthy relationship with her father, and she never saw a loving relationship between herself and and her father. And this is what is the core foundation to a lot of black women's issues. A lot of black women have daddy issues similar to your Halle Berry, and those daddy issues prevent them from being able to connect with a man. Those daddy issues prevent them from being able to share with a man. And those daddy issues prevent them from being able to bond with a man. And those daddy issues are the thing that lead to the insecurities many black women have regarding men. And because they have these insecurities, they cannot really let go and have that relationship with a man. Now, when it comes down to relationships, there's an order as related to it by the Most High Living God. And your Halle Berry never got to understand what those roles were because she grew up in dysfunction. And because she grew up in dysfunction, she never learned what it meant to be a helpmeet as related to being in a relationship. So she never learned what her role was as a woman under God's natural order, because in that home, she learned what I believe to be a feminist idea as related to what it means to be a woman. And because she learned the feminist ideas and had this trauma as related to her relationship with her father, this led to the core foundation of her not being able to have a healthy relationship with a man. And again, the trauma with the father as related to alleged domestic violence and other things, I believe, in the divorce was the thing that really laid a major foundation as related to her her perceptions of men, and then her not getting a spiritual education on how to be a helpmeet to a man. This is one of the things, these are the two things that I believe are the core foundation to why she has not been able to make a marriage work. Because in order to make a marriage work, as I see it, a woman, one, needs to have a good understanding of her role as a woman as taught in the Bible, one, and two, she really needs to have a good model for her as related to a healthy relationship between a man and a woman. So a woman needs two things essential. She needs a good, solid foundation in teachings as related to the Most High Living God by her mother, and she needs a good model for a relationship shown to her as related to seeing a man and a woman together having a loving relationship. And it's just like J.R. Meadows says, they need to be equally yoked. But in the case of Halle Berry, she was never she saw equally yoked relationship. She saw dysfunctional relationships from day one. And because she saw dysfunctional relationships from day one, this was why she got insecure about having relationships, and those insecurities and fears are the thing that always undermine your Halle Berry, no matter who she gets involved with. Because the big core problem with Halle Berry is she's afraid of these men doing her wrong, and that fear is the reason why she wants to have power and control in the relationship. She fears that if these men start to take their leadership role in the relationship, what will happen is the relationship will fall apart, because she saw the relationship between her mother and her father fall apart. And the reason why that relationship fell apart, I believe, is one, due to the fact that her father had married this white woman after divorcing the black woman, because once a man goes out here and leaves one woman and marries another woman, usually what happens is that relationship is not very strong. And two, the relationship really didn't work out because during the late 1960s, early 70s, there was a lot of racism that went on. And some of these interracial couples, what happened is their relationship deteriorated because in white supremacist America, when a black man got involved with a white woman, white society had ways of passive aggressively punishing that black man by denying him access to things like jobs. And they would also punish the white woman by ostracizing her from their social circles. And when white supremacy lays that type of pressure on a black man and a white woman, it can lead to the relationship getting strained, because the white woman who wants to be social, she wants to be elevated, but she's been cut out of white society for getting involved with this black man. And white supremacists in society are going to punish that white woman by letting her know she's not going to be getting promoted, she's not going to be elevated, and that's because the white supremacist is going to let her know what her place is in society if she gets with that black man. And that can cause a lot of frustrations between a black man and a white woman in a relationship, and that can lead to that situation deteriorating, especially if there are children involved. And when you have bills and things like that, it can lead to a lot of this frustration boiling in the relationship, and that can lead to people not really being in a good place, and that can lead to the relationship falling apart. And that's where I think the model for Halle's relationships start, and that's why her relationships don't work, because things didn't work for her mother and her father, and now they just don't work for her. So she learned a dysfunctional paradigm growing up, like a lot of black women learned growing up during the feminist movement. And these paradigms that they learn, these models for relationships, are why things don't work. Because a lot of those women, like your Halle Berry, again, they are very insecure, and they're insecure because of the daddy issues they have. They don't trust a man, and if you can't trust a man, then you can't respect a man. So your Halle Berry, she did not learn how to trust her father. She did not learn how to respect her father. And that's essential if you want to have a relationship. A lot of girls, if they're in a single mother household, they really don't learn the basics of having a relationship with a man, because they didn't have a relationship with their fathers. And in a woman who has a relationship with her father, she's going to learn healthy behaviors as related to men because one, she's going to see her mother seeing her father in a positive way. She's going to see her father treated with respect by the mother when he comes home from work. She's going to see the father, getting a kiss and getting affection. She's going to see the father getting things like home cooked meals and being talked to in a respectful fashion. And when you observe that behavior, it teaches you from an early age that one, a man is a leader, two, a man is an authority figure, three, a man has value, and four, a man is somebody who deserves to be loved, and five, you show your love for that man by giving him his respect and the respect of his position that God gave him as head of the household and the steward over the household. When a girl grows up in a healthy two-parent household, and she sees her father treated with respect by her mother, it teaches her at an early age that men are somebody to be respected and valued. And that's something your Halle Berry didn't really get inside of a single mother household that was established through a divorce and further compounded by domestic violence, because she was in this home and she had to deal with her mother's emotional issues. In addition to the daddy issues, she did not learn how to have a relationship with a man because the man who was there, he left when she was 4 years old. And when a girl does not see a man in the home and a man treated well, then she does not know how to have relationships with men. And this is a big problem that happens in a lot of Black households. You have Black girls who were never raised to understand and see a value of a man and see how important a man is in a relationship. They never learn to see a man as a partner. And because they don't learn how to see a man as a partner and learn how to work with a partner, they learn that a man is somebody that they don't need to value. A man is somebody they don't need to respect. And a man is somebody they don't need to care about because the mother is teaching them, oh, I don't need to respect this man. And a lot of women in single mother households, they have a lot of emotional baggage and anger regarding their failed relationship. And they teach this to their daughters as a culture. And as their daughters learn this as a culture, they learn not the things that a girl in a household with a father learns, which is how to respect male authority, how to respect male authority figures, and how to trust a man in a relationship. No, what they learn is that they are better than the man, they are smarter than the man, and they know better than the man. And these concepts, they come from a place of insecurity, and they come from a place of insecurity because these young women never learned how to submit to a man, and a lot of them are afraid to submit to a man because of the traumas they experienced when their mothers were younger or when they were younger. They had some trauma that taught them to be afraid to submit to a man's authority, because in order for a woman to submit to a man's authority, she has to see that man as somebody she can trust. Unfortunately, women like Halle Berry never learned how to trust a man. And the reason why they don't trust a man is because they don't trust their fathers. And because they don't trust their fathers, they take that trauma with them growing up, and they take that trauma with them, and they learn not to trust any man. And because they don't trust the man, they don't want to submit to the man, and they don't want to trust the man enough that they would submit to his leadership and authority and look and have him be the one who gives them leadership, support, and guidance. That's one of the things that I think is core to Halle Berry's problems with men. is that she has major trust issues as related to her father, and that has always been the big problem with many of her relationships and why they fail. Now, this is something I believe is corroborated by statements of Halle's two husbands, David Justice and Eric Benet, who made the statements that, your Halle Berry was a very domineering and controlling woman. Now, women like this, they become domineering and controlling because they are insecure. And that insecurity, again, is because they don't trust the man to be a good leader. They don't trust the man to be an authority figure. They don't trust the man to be a protector. They don't trust the man to be a provider. They are afraid that if they submit to this man's authority, he is going to fail in some way, shape, or form. And that prevents them from being able to connect with that man, because while they're in a relationship with him physically, they never really connect with him emotionally. And in order for a woman to be able to effectively pair bond with a man, she has to go out here and be emotionally available. And your domineering woman, she isn't emotionally available because she's afraid of sharing that part with her. Yes, she may like that guy to a point, but that fear prevents her from connecting with that man to the point where she sees that man as valuable enough to respect. So yes, she will go out here and like this guy and be with him physically, but she cannot really share herself emotionally with that man. And your Halle Berry, when I really think about her relationships, she has never really been able to really connect and bond with these guys because there's a part of herself that she holds back. And because she holds that part of herself back, she never really gives herself completely to these men that she's married, like a David Justice or an Eric Benet or your Oliver Martinez or your Gabriel Aubrey. Yes, she might have like feelings for them, but she never gets to the point where she ever respects those men and sees those men as somebody that she can trust enough to submit to their leadership, submit to their authority, and most importantly, respect their leadership and authority that God has given them to be her head and her covering and her protection, because she's afraid that those men are going to hurt her in the exact same way that they hurt her mother. So she's afraid of connecting fully with those men. And it's always that little part of herself that doesn't trust that leads to these relationships falling apart. Because just as those men are, thank you very much for the Cash App. I really appreciate it. Mata, thank you for the Cash App. Really appreciate it. But I'm going to get back to my point in a minute. But but the whole thing is she can't bond with this man. And those guys, they're looking for a woman who's going to be a helpmeet and a support to work with them towards building a relationship. But it's hard to build with a woman who has all of these emotional hurts and insecurities from her childhood. It's hard to connect and bond with that woman because what you're trying to build, she's going out here and taking the bricks out from under you because she does not trust the foundation you're trying to build. No, she thinks that your foundation is unstable because she compares your foundation to the foundation of her father and her mother. But you can't judge one man by the model you've seen, because the whole thing is a different man out here, he may have a different approach, and his approach may be able to give you the emotional security that you need. But the whole thing is, when you're insecure, oftentimes you put up emotional walls, and like Halle Berry, as I see, puts up a big emotional wall, and that prevents that man from being able to go out here and build a foundation with her, because all she does is take the bricks from his foundation, creates an emotional wall, and that emotional wall keeps that man from getting closer to her. And she believes the only way for that man to become closer to her is if she's in the lead, because she believes that if this man is in the lead, he's going to mess up. So she thinks that if she looks out for him, it'll be right. If she's leading the relationship, it'll be right. But that's not the way God created relationships to be. No, he created the man to be the head. He created the man to be the leader. He created the man to be the authority, because in a relationship under God's natural order, the man is the one who has a direct connection to him. He is the steward who he has made responsible for doing his work on earth. And the woman is supposed to help the man towards doing his work on earth. But your Halle Berry, she fears being in a relationship like that because the father failed to do this. And she fears that if she submits to this man, he will not be able to go out here and do what he's supposed to do. But these men, clearly we see like a David Justice and Eric Benet, they were equipped to do that work. But the whole thing is, she did not trust those men to do that work. And because she did not trust those men to do what they were supposed to do in the relationship, that's why the relationship failed. And the main reason why the relationship failed is because she did not learn how to respect a man at an early age. And this has always been a big problem with a lot of women who come from single mother households, not just Black women. They never learn how to respect a man. And when you have women out here who don't know how to respect a man, they're not going to be able to have a successful relationship. Because when you have a woman out here who does not respect men, what she does is go out here and look for ways to undermine that man's leadership, undermine that man's authority, and she doesn't want to listen to that man or take his leadership or take his advice and guidance, because she does not see any value in that man as related to his leadership role. No, she always questions that man's leadership and his choices. She always thinks that he doesn't make good decisions, but sometimes these men make very good decisions, but she can't see a value in those decisions because her fear keeps her from seeing how this man is looking out for her. So she'll sit there and think, oh, I have to go out here and do things for myself, because she doesn't trust the man to go out here and do things. And she goes out here and does things on her own, thinking she's accomplishing something, but those accomplishments really are not things that are constructive to her. And an example of that was something I saw as related to Halle Berry and David Justice. She was trying to be the boss in the relationship and not trusting David Justice, a big-time player with the Atlanta Braves, to provide for her and give her. No, she was trying to second guess him, and she was trying to have her own career. And yeah, if she wanted to go out here and act, that would be a thing she could do. But she needed to trust the man to be the leader in the relationship. And that's where we had the major power struggle with there. And then we also saw this with Eric Benet as well. And your Halle Berry then made some career choices with Eric Benet that I think led to her whole relationship derailing. Because one of the things that's important for a relationship is the woman being a positive reflection of a man. And when it comes down to relationships, a woman is a reflection of that man. And I think what happened with Halle Berry's relationship with Eric Benet to cause it to deteriorate, in addition to the power and control issues, was the fact that her career was starting to rise. And what happened was we had your Halle Berry thinking about elevating herself in these white social circles where she wanted to get social acceptance. And that led to her making some choices that led to her not presenting a positive reflection of her man, Eric Benet. And now, your Halle Berry at the time, she was out here doing the nude scene in Swordfish and Monsters Ball. And I don't believe that was beneficial to her marriage, because when it comes down to a marriage, I don't think any man wants his wife out there in participating in a gratuitous topless scene in a movie, and a man does not want his wife out there being turned out inside of a film like Monsters Ball and that gratuitous sex scene that Halle Berry participated in. I don't think any man of character would be comfortable with his wife being out there like that, being turned out by some white man. And I think that was one of the things that led to the relationship deteriorating, in addition to this female going out here and trying to be the leader. She's thinking that this is elevating her career, but any self-respecting man, he's going to pull his woman to the side and he's going to let her know, look, this is not a good look, not just for you, but it's not a good look for us. And if you're out here being exposed and turned out like this is not a good look for us, because this shows that you have little respect for me and you also have little respect for yourself. That's what a man is going to say to his wife whenever one of these movie studios comes out here and says, oh, we want you to do this topless scene, or they present you with this script talking about this graphic sex scene. He's going to say, look, this is not a good look for us as a couple. And yeah, this may supposedly go out here and elevate your career, but this is going to cost you a relationship with your man. And when it comes down to a marriage, a wife is supposed to be looking out for the marriage first and taking care of her man and the marriage, because the man, again, is the provider and the one who is giving her covering. And that's the whole thing that dear Halle Berry didn't understand. She's out here thinking, oh, I'm going to go out here and have this career. But this career was the thing, I believe, one of the reasons why her marriage failed, in addition to the structure of that dysfunctional home. I mean, I think she could have had a shot with Eric Benet, but what happened was she went out here and did that Monsters Ball. And when she did that, she lost face in front of her husband, because that face was not a reflection of him, and it was not a positive reflection of him. I mean, again, what man would be comfortable with his wife out there being exposed in a movie like Swordfish gratuitously, or being turned out in a film like Monsters Ball and being used by some white man? I mean, that kind of picture, that sends a message to the world. We don't have to respect you as a black man. We don't have to respect your leadership. We don't have to respect your authority. And we don't have to respect you as a man. And that's one of those things that is, again, a great insult to any sort of man who wants to go out here and build a relationship with a wife. He doesn't want his wife out there being turned out like that. And I think that was one of the things that led to that relationship deteriorating. Now, I know the David Justice one deteriorated because of the daddy issues, but I believe the one with Eric Benet completely collapsed because this man saw his wife being turned out, and then saw a guy like, I forget what his name is, this actor, he kissed her on the stage. These are disrespects directed right at that man, right in front of his face. Middle fingers being thrown up at this man, and he's being told by his woman, oh, you just need to put up with this so I can make all of this money. But that, again, is, again, a lack of faith in the man to take care of his business as a man. And I believe, again, that rise to stardom destroyed that relationship and compounded the relationship problems and the insecurities that your Halle Berry had as related to her relationship problems. Yes, her star was rising, but her ability to have successful relationships were falling, and they were falling because this woman was out here and she was trying to empower herself, and she was not somebody a man could go out here and work with to be able to build. You had a lot of these people in the mainstream media trying to present her as this successful woman, but she was not really very successful when it came down to relationships. And that inability to get that success was because she was out here and she did not have a really solid spiritual foundation as related to the Most High. Now, if she had a solid foundation as related to the Most High God and understood her role as a helpmeet, she would still possibly have an acting career, but she would understand, look, there's certain things I just can't do because this is going to reflect badly on my husband, and this is going to reflect badly on my family that I'm trying to build with my husband. But she didn't understand that, and that's why her relationships deteriorated, and that's why she was starting to have real serious problems after that, because after she had the failed marriage with Eric Benet, she did try to do things with Michael Ealy, and that's when I believe Halle Berry's paradigm went from bad to worse, because after Halle Berry had the relationship with Michael Ealy, what happened was she talked about how she wanted to have a child. And when I looked at that part of her life, I said, oh my goodness, she's in a really bad place, because she's talking about not having children with a man, and she's talking like she's the one who is going to run the relationship. And when you're out here and you're talking about having children, usually you want to talk about this between you and your partner, so that when you and this man talk about building this family, it's something you both agree with. But when she was in the relationship with Michael Ealy, she wanted to have this child on her terms and have it all by herself without consulting your Michael Ealy in any way, shape, or form as a father. And this, again, goes back to her daddy issues as related to her mother and her father, because her father, she couldn't trust him to be the head of household because of the relationship that deteriorated between her and her mother. She was now taking this paradigm with herself and using it on another man. And your Michael Ealy, seeing that this woman wanted to have a relationship with her just to get a baby, he said, I'm not dealing with this. And he quickly got out of that relationship because he did not want to be a baby daddy. No, Michael Ealy wanted to be a husband and a father. And because Michael Ealy wanted to be a husband and a father, he understood, I can't have a relationship with this Halle Berry because she does not trust me to submit to my leadership. She does not trust me to submit to my authority, and she does not respect me as a man to be able to go out here and take care of business. And because she does not trust me to go out here and take care of business as related to being a head of household, that's when he decided to get out of that relationship. Unfortunately, Halle Berry's mind was still completely messed up, and she's sitting here thinking in a very dysfunctional way, thinking, oh, I can have a child all by myself. And that's when I look at her and I say, this is where she needed some counseling by somebody in the Most High, because she needs a spiritual counseling, because that, I believe, is the start of the Jezebel spirit entering your Halle Berry. I think it probably entered before that, when she got involved with that Monsters Ball with Lee Daniels, that she got to have this Jezebel spirit come into her. But I believe that this Jezebel spirit came in, and she wanted to come in here and start talking about having this baby on her own. And that's when she decided to go from black men, who she went out here and attacked, to go over to the white man, Gabriel Aubrey. Because I believe, again, her problems, again, they stem from that dysfunctional foundation, but they got worse. And she thought that it was just the black men that were the problem, because the black man was a problem for her mother. So she thought, oh, it's just a problem with the black man. But the problem, again, was her core foundation as related to the way she was raised, and it was related to her dysfunctional spiritual foundation. Because when a woman, again, gets a dysfunctional spiritual foundation and is not raised in a healthy relationship with a father, what happens is she then starts to go out here and think the paradigm has to do with the color of a man's skin, but not the content of her character. And your Halle Berry never really worked on her character. It was always a complete mess, but she's thinking it's the color of the men's skin. And she thinks, oh, I'll go over here to the white man and he'll be better than the black man. But the whole problem is with many people, black women like the swirlers, they don't understand the problem is in here. And what they do is they go from being involved with the black men who they say are a problem to getting involved with the exact same type of guy in a different color. And in this case, when Halle Berry got involved with your Gabriel Aubrey, she was looking to get involved with somebody she could get power over because men like David Justice, they had more economic power and resources. Men like Eric Benet were already established. So she went looking for a weaker white man to get involved with so that she could go out here and get power in the relationship. And she thought, oh, I'll get with this lesser white man. And if I get involved with this lesser white man will be somebody I can go out here and get control over. She thought, oh, this Gabriel Aubrey, he's just a Canadian male model. He's nobody. I'm the incredibly beautiful woman who is the ultimate ideal. Like Miss Gang Smasher said, she thought she could get by on her looks. She thought her looks were more beautiful. And this was going to make her appear to be a higher value woman in comparison to Gabriel Aubrey. And she thought she could dominate this man economically. And when she did this, she was getting involved in a relationship similar to your black women who get involved with the Pookie or the Ray Ray. They get involved with these men because they think they can get power in the relationship. They think they can get control in the relationship. And they think they can get leverage in the relationship. So that's what Halle Berry was thinking when she got involved with Gabriel Aubrey. She thought, oh, I'll get with this guy and I'll go out here and get with this guy. He's not going to be able to have any power in the relationship. And once I get this guy under my control, I'll be able to have my child, and I'll be able to have my child on my terms. And that's what she thought. Oh, I'm going to have this child on my terms and do this my way. But what happened was the same thing happened to her that happened to her mother. And what happened was she's trying to get power in the relationship, and the relationship starts to deteriorate. And the relationship starts to deteriorate, and she winds up out here saying that, oh, he called me an N-word and all of this other stuff. But what's really happening is that it's about her trying to get power over this white man, and she's not going to get power over this white man. And this is where your Halle Berry's anger starts to boil and it starts to simmer, because she's starting to get really frustrated about her relationship paradigm. She's sitting there saying to herself, oh, if it's not the black men, then where's the problem? Because she's sitting here thinking, oh, things will be better with this white man, but the problems are not the content of the color of the men's skin. It is the content of her character. And her character really started to show when the relationship between her and Gabriel Aubrey started to deteriorate after Nala was born, and she started to go out with this Oliver Martinez, and on Thanksgiving Day trying to manipulate this man into having a ghetto fight with Oliver Martinez. And your Gabriel Aubrey, he tried to work with Halle Berry the same way many black men would try to work with their baby mamas, by just coming to visits and going out here and, just coming out here and helping out with the kids, visit to see the kids. But she was so insecure, she tried to manipulate Oliver Martinez into fighting Gabriel Aubrey. And that's when Gabriel Aubrey just said, okay, enough is enough. And what he did was, instead of him sitting there and putting up with it like black men have to put up with because the family court sided with them, that's when he brought out the hammer of white supremacy and used it to smash Halle Berry. Because your Halle Berry thought, oh, this Gabriel Aubrey is just like any of these black males out here. I can just go out here and disrespect them. And she thought, oh, he's just a low-level white dude. But what she didn't understand was the institution of white supremacy is going to look out for a white man, no matter what his level or station in life is. And they're going to protect that white man because they want to make sure that that system benefits all white men. Now, your Gabriel Aubrey, as I see it, didn't really want to bring the hammer down on your Halle Berry, but he decided to do so in order to protect his visitation rights and his parental rights. So he decided to go to the family court, and he went out here, and that's when he brought the hammer of white supremacy down on Halle Berry. And that's when he was able to not only secure his paternal rights as related to visitation, but he was also able to get child support. And I believe that was a major body blow to your Halle Berry and her ego, because she could not stand the whole idea of this pookie white man getting the uppercut on her as related to white supremacy. So the white man came in and he brought the hammer down on Halle Berry, and she wound up paying $16,000 a month in child support. And she was angry about that, but there's no reason to be angry. The child support system works like this, and it's always worked like this. The spouse who makes more money always has to pay the child support, and they're paying to maintain the lifestyle of the child. And what happened was, this wouldn't have happened if your Halle Berry had went out here and submitted to the authority of a man under God's natural order. No, because she did not want to submit to that man. This man then went out here, who she thought was less than, and used the system of white supremacy to make her go out here and give him his child support and give him his rights. And she's upset about that, but that's the way it works in the system of white supremacy. And she became taken out by white supremacy because she did not want to submit to the leadership and authority of a black man under God's natural order. She had no respect for the black man, and she wanted to bring that contempt over to the white man. And the white man in the white supremacist system, he wasn't having any of that. So he said, I'm not going to be getting myself arrested and locked up like these black males who fight over these baby mamas. And I'm not going to mess up my image and the image of white men out here fighting over some biracial black woman. So he said, no, I'm not going to do that. If I am protected and covered by the system of white supremacy, I'm going to go out here and get that protection for myself. And that's what he did in the family court. Thank you, DWT 1975, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And Gordon Freeman, a woman pays a man child support, and what they have to pay it is based on the lifestyle of the woman. And examples of this are seen with Shar Jackson and Kevin Federline, and Britney Spears and Kevin Federline. In both of those cases, Kevin Federline had children by both of those women, and because those women made more than Kevin Federline, they are paying him child support because they had kids with that man. And again, this is all about maintaining the child's lifestyle. It is not about giving a man money. This is the money the man is allegedly supposed to use to maintain the child's lifestyle by making sure that they have a home, making sure that they have clothes, making sure that their lifestyle is equal to what they have in the spouse who makes more money's home. So that's what it's supposed to be all about. But your Halle Berry didn't understand that, because she was thinking, oh, I'm going to get in this relationship with this white man. I'm going to get this power over this white man, and I'm going to send a middle finger up to black men like my father and show them that I'm going to have success in a relationship with a white man that I couldn't have with the black man. But again, the problem was Halle Berry, because she was approaching her relationship with Gabriel Aubrey with anger, and she was approaching that relationship with anger and frustration because she was trying to make these relationships work with men. But the problems are that she did not know how to have a relationship with a man, because her relationship with her father was damaged back when she was 4 years old. So your Halle Berry, she went on after this, tried to have a relationship with Oliver Martinez, had a son with Oliver Martinez, and what happened was that relationship deteriorated as well. And I believe that that relationship deteriorated as well because that man wanted to be a leader in the relationship. That man wanted to be a head in the relationship. And when he saw he could not be a man in the relationship, that's when he decided to cut your Halle Berry loose. And then we had your Halle Berry making all of these defensive statements about how she's willing to be single for the rest of her life and how she's content with it. But these were denials because soon after this, she got involved with another guy that things didn't work out. And then eventually she got involved with your Van Hunt. And it seems after this relationship with your Van Hunt, this is where your Halle Berry practically started to go off the deep end because now that she's in her 50s, she has to look back at her life. And as she looks back at her life, she's not really seeing the success that she wanted. Now, many people would sit there and say, oh, Halle Berry had a lot of great success as related to her cinematic career, but that's not really fulfilling for most women. Now, most women, for what they consider to be a success, is a marriage, and that's what most women really want, is that relationship with that man, so they can say they've accomplished something. For a woman, being the helpmeet to a man in a marriage is what they consider to be success, and your Halle Berry has never been able to achieve that measure of success. Yes, she has an Oscar. Yes, she has Emmys. Yes, she has critical acclaim and is one of the highest paid actresses in Hollywood. But that's not really satisfying spiritually to a woman. What's really spiritually satisfying to a woman is being in her role in God's natural order. And what's really spiritually satisfying to her is going out here and being that wife to that husband. That's what's spiritually satisfying for women. And this is the reason why so many women out here are so unfulfilled on the inside is one, they don't have that foundation in the Most High God. And two, they just don't really have anything spiritual to be able to connect with as related to God because they don't know how to have that relationship with God. So they're not spiritually rooted. And what happens is they're not satisfied because they don't trust in God to meet their needs, and they don't trust in their husbands to be the man to protect them and provide for them. So they're frustrated and they're sitting there. Yeah, they've got these careers and they've got all this money, but they feel like something is missing on the inside. And what they feel is missing on the inside is something spiritual. And that's what's the big problem with Halle Berry. And that's why she's so angry, because she knows something is missing from her and she can't really get to it. And she knows something is just not there and she's not satisfied. And this is why so many women out here are deeply troubled. Because I not only see it with Halle Berry, I see it with a lot of other women out here, how they're on antidepressants, how they're depressed, how they're it's all due to the fact that they bought into a lot of what the feminists told them about you can have it all. But when I think about Halle Berry, I think about something I read in the Bible where I think Jesus said that what does a man gain if he gets the whole world but loses his own soul? And that's what's happening to your Halle Berry. She has gained the world, but she has lost her soul. And she's angry because she feels that she's lost her soul, and she compromised her soul when she went out here and did that film Monsters Ball and then got topless in Swordfish. And now she's looking back at her life and seeing how empty and unfulfilled it truly is. And that's one of the reasons why she's so angry. And that's why she's lashing out on Instagram, because she's no longer the superstar anymore. She's no longer the center of attention. She's no longer seen as a woman anybody respects. No, your Halle Berry is not seen as anybody sees as having any sort of value as related to being a wife. They don't see her as somebody they would want to bring home to their mothers, and men don't see her like they used to. And what's happened to her is she's realizing how empty her life is. Yes, she got the Oscar. Yes, she got the $15 million a picture. And yes, she got this career with all this so-called success, but she's just got nothing at the end of the day because she does not have a husband, and her family is just as dysfunctional as the family her mother had with her father. And she's looking at herself and saying, I've just turned into my mother, and I was trying my best not to be my mother, and now I'm turning into my mother. So that's what's happening to your Halle Berry. She's looking at her life and just feeling unhappy and unfulfilled about it. And that's why she gets on platforms like Instagram and seeks out attention. And what happened was she got really angry because she had hoped that this Van Hunt thing would work out, but Van Hunt didn't work out. And then she wants to talk about women don't owe US. But the big problem is she doesn't understand a man is not looking for anything from a woman but his respect. And if a man can't get respect from a woman, then he has no interest in trying to work with her, because without his respect, he cannot connect with her to form a relationship. And without his respect, he knows he can't get any love. And if he can't get any love, then he can't bond with that woman and he can't get close to her. So when you have a female out here and a man can't get his respect from her, he wants nothing to do with her. And that's why Halle Berry's star has fallen so far, especially with black men, because black men saw that they were not going to get her respect. And we see that she still has contempt for black men from the statement she made on Instagram after the relationship fell apart with Van Hunt. We see that she still has no respect for black men. And she's sitting there wondering, well, why don't my relationships work? But the reason why your relationships work is because your mother had no respect for your father, and she taught you not to respect a black man like your father. So that's why your Halle Berry has problems with men. And sadly, in her old age, your Halle Berry has not become a sweet woman. She's become a very sour woman, and her bitterness is out here, and she's just very angry all the time. And she doesn't see where her anger is coming from. And again, the anger, is coming from being spiritually unfulfilled. And that bitterness is starting to color a lot of the things she does, like her post on Instagram, with the place where she goes to get her attention from currently. So she doesn't see where her anger is really manifesting as related to the things she's putting out there. Because to say women don't owe you S, again, that's an expression of contempt towards men. Again, a man who has value, he's going to say, look, I'm not looking for anything from you. The only thing I'm looking for is to be treated with respect. And if you can't give me that, then I don't really want to deal with you at all. Now, when I look at your Van Hunt, I can see that he's kind of sort of a bit of a simp. And he was going out here with Halle Berry thinking that was going to elevate his status. But I believe sooner or later what happened was dude probably thought, hey, I don't need to deal with this domineering woman who's disrespecting me. And to take a page from your Kevin Samuels, this high-value man, what he did was start to see his value as a man, and then he decided to leave. Same thing with the other previous musician who decided to leave. He said, look, I see my value as a man, and I'm not going to deal with a woman who goes out here and disrespects me, because this woman who is 54 years old has 2 kids by 2 different white men. This is not something that I can sit here and build with. I mean, this woman is already, why would I want to deal with her when there are other women out there who are younger and childless, and I can go out here and have this woman as a wife to go out here and build a family with? Why would I want to deal with this 54-year-old woman who has all of this emotional baggage? And why would I want to get involved with said woman and hope to have try to build something when I can go out here and get a younger woman, and that woman will be somebody who I can go out here and make her my wife, and then I can go out here and have my own legitimate children? That's probably what your Van Hunt was thinking as related to your Halle Berry, because Halle Berry had said, oh, I had introduced this man to my kids. I had wanted to build this relationship. But what happened was he wasn't sticking around because he did not want to be dominated by this woman. He did not want to be put in a submissive position. He did not want to be emasculated as a man. And he wanted to be in his leadership role as a man. And this is the big problem with Halle Berry, is that the men that she gets involved with, she's thinking that she can make these men submit to her, but no man is going to go through that. And I went into that in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, that when this paradigm that many Black women like Halle Berry go into, this paradigm of failure, this is the final stage of it. And I talk about that. I talk about in the book. I'm gonna leave a link to it in the chat so you guys can pick up that book. And in that final stage, that man realizes that he's being emasculated. And when a man realizes he's being emasculated, he's going to do one of three things. He's going to try to either establish dominance through violence, or he's going to try to make the woman submit by having his children, or he's just going to leave the relationship. And in most of Halle Berry's cases, those men just say, look, she's not worth going to jail over. And if I have a kid with this woman, I'm going to be stuck with this kid. And she's also going to mess my kid up, like in the case of Oliver Martinez and his son. His son is already being effeminized and turned into a beta male, because passive aggressively, what your Halle Berry is trying to do is get back at not only Oliver Martinez, but Eric Benet and David Justice and every other man out there. She's going to think she's going to go out here and raise this better boy, and she thinks she's going to make this boy into this perfect male. But what she's doing is turning her son into a beta male. And what happens is, when you turn a boy into a beta male, he's no good for anyone, because he's learned codependency as a model for relationships, and he learned not how to be a leader. He's learned how to be a follower behind a woman. And I could see the betaization of this boy, starting with Halle Berry having this boy wearing her boots and walking up the stairs and thinking that it's fine, and them talking about, I'm not going to teach my son so-called sexist things, but a boy has to learn his role as a man early on, and a boy has to learn his role as a man, and that there are certain behaviors men don't participate in. And when there's no father in the home, what happens is these women try to call themselves making perfect boys. And I talk about this in my other book, Manginas. They talk about they want to raise these so-called perfect boys, but what they do is create these male monsters who go out here, and these men are even worse than the so-called traditional sexist man. So I talk about what happens to these so-called perfect boys like Halle Berry tries to raise in Manginas. And that ebook is on Amazon right now. And that book has really helped out so many guys out here understanding, the way they were raised in these single mother households. And this is what happens to a male raised in a home. And this is sadly what's happening in Halle Berry's home right now. This boy is the one who is suffering at her hand, because this bitter woman, she's calling herself raising this perfect boy passively, but aggressively is coming back at this boy to get back at not only her child's father, but her own father, because what she wants to do is so-called raise this ideal man. But what she doesn't know is that so many women over the last 50 years tried to do this in single mother household. They call themselves, I'm going to raise this perfect boy. I'm going to raise this perfect man. And what happens is this guy is an even bigger monster than a guy who comes from a two-parent household and is so-called macho. I mean, this guy is one of the guys who will go out here and just, he will be a abusive man and a violent man. And this is what happens when you don't have a father involved. They raise these so-called perfect males. So these perfect males are anything but perfect, and they turn out to be some of the worst monsters out there. And your Halle Berry can't see that type of monster she's about to raise because she's turning into a monster herself. The bitterness and the anger are, percolating in her. And this anger is just, you can see it. And this is what happens to a lot of the older women who buy into the paradigm of feminism. I remember on Facebook watching Mad Black 80, he made that observation. It was a brilliant observation that what's happening to Halle Berry is what happens when women follow the feminist model. And what happens to women who follow the feminist model is most of them wind up spiritually unfulfilled. A lot of them wind up frustrated. A lot of them wind up angry. And many of them just wind up depressed and down. And they're depressed and down again because they know that there's something spiritually wrong with them. Their spiritual foundation is completely a mess, and they're not really centered in a relationship with the Most High God. And because they're not centered in that relationship with the Most High, and they've gone out here and they've had multiple relationships with men, they're just a spiritual mess. And that spiritual mess, it happens because a woman does not go out here and bond with just one man. When a woman is out here like a Halle Berry, and she's had 3 marriages, 1 baby daddy, and several boyfriends, she has a lot of DNA from different men, causing all sorts of bonding issues, because when a man and a woman lie together and a woman bonds with a man, she bonds with that man on a spiritual level. And when she takes that man's DNA into her and she bonds with him on a spiritual level, what happens is they form a connection with each other. Unfortunately, Halle Berry has so many different men who have gone inside of her and bonded with her over the last 30 or so years that she has all of these different spirits at war with her and at war inside of her. And that's what's leading to a lot of what people call her instability, and people saying, oh, your Halle Berry is allegedly crazy. But what's making her crazy is the fact that she's trying to have these spirits, at war with each other, because when you get involved with different guys and you go out and have sex with those different men, then you bond with those men on a spiritual level, and those spirits are at war with each other, and they're preventing you from being able to be at spiritual peace. And this is, again, one of Halle Berry's problems, is that she's got all these different spirits in her, and these different spirits, are at war, because when you get with different guys and they all have this different DNA, it just makes your head go haywire. And this is why she's having these problems as well, in addition to the daddy issues that compound it. So when I look at your Halle Berry, again, sadly, she's become a very, very bitter woman. She's become a very angry woman. And she's sadly the textbook example of what happens when you follow the whole feminist model that tells you you can be strong and independent. You don't need a man, and you can go out here and do everything by yourself. You can go out here and achieve all of this financial success, but it goes back to the point that Jesus made about what profits a man if he gains the world but loses his own soul. And your Halle Berry, yes, she gained the world, but she's losing her soul. And sadly, she doesn't see that she's hurted further and further down as related to her spiritual life. And she really needs to get herself right with the Most High God, because if she continues on this road, she is going to fall further into darkness, because this Jezebel spirit that's inside of her is taking more and more dominance. And that can again be seen as related to her behavior. I mean, this Jezebel spirit is taking more and more dominance in her. And that anger is shown to us again with that Women Don't Owe You S post. And then the rant she went on as related to the child support that she was paying $16,000 a month. She went on a rant on the child support. And I believe she's frustrated because she went out here and she financed a movie called Bruised, which is about ultimate fighting and presenting, again, more masculine images of women. And she knows that that movie probably is not going to make a profit. And now she's frustrated because she has not only the financing of this movie and the stress of financing the movie that she is supposed to be her directorial debut, but she also now has to pay $16,000 a month to two different men as related to child support. She's angry because she's going out here and she's got these bills and she's really in a really bad place, financially and spiritually, and that anger is boiling inside of her, and she's really deeply frustrated about things not going right in her older life as related to this movie that she's made. And then related to that whole situation, she's just really frustrated that, oh, I have to pay this child support. But you wouldn't have to pay any child support if you went under God's natural order and you had a husband. You wouldn't have to pay any child support. But your Halle Berry doesn't know this because she really does not have that spiritual foundation in the Most High God and his son Jesus. She doesn't have that foundation to understand, okay, you know, if I had a husband, I wouldn't have to go out here and be in this position. If I had a husband, he would be the one to go out here and be able to provide and protect for me. And he would be the one, if I wanted to make my own movie, he would be the one to give me the support. He would be the one to go out here and help me out. But she's sitting here because she's angry because things are not working out in her life. And again, things are not working out in her life because she does not have a spiritual foundation in the Most High God, and she does not have a relationship with Jesus Christ, and she does not trust Jesus Christ and his order as related to relationships. And because she has never trusted God to get to work, to have the man be the leader, this is why everything has fallen apart. She has tried to go out here and do everything herself. And the big problem is she has done bad all by herself. And because she's done all bad by herself, what has happened is she's done bad all by herself, and it's all on her. And she looks at that, and that's what makes her so angry, because ultimately, at the end of the day, she can't blame black men for this. She can't blame really anybody. She made a lot of these choices herself. But a lot of the reasons why she made those choices herself is because she really never got that education as related to being a woman under God's natural order. And I believe the only way she's going to get out of things is if she goes out here and repents and submits to the Most High and go out here and submit to God's authority. That's the only way she can get some deliverance from all of this darkness, because right now she is in darkness, and this Jezebel spirit is taking her straight on a dark road, straight to hell, and she can't see this Jezebel spirit taking her on a dark road straight to hell. But I can see how this Jezebel spirit that is inside of her is taking her down this dark road, and she really needs some spiritual guidance from the Most High so that she can take that look at herself and see the darkness that is in her and try to find a way to prevent that darkness from finally consuming her. Now, I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream, and I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream. So if you could donate to the Cash App, it would be greatly appreciated. That helps me stay on the air and be able to do great live streams like this one. And it helps me be able to provide great content because that pays for the internet. And I have 2 new books as a part of the SJS Direct 2021 catalog. John Haynes, Taking Care of Business, which is available in Kindle for pre-order right now, and it's going to be on paperback on March 20th. I also have Isis: Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, which is going to be available on Kindle in April 20th, and you can get that one for pre-order right now. And those are the two books that I have right now. And I also have several other books from the 2020 catalog. I have Easteen, Blast from the Past, John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose, Eternal Night, which is one of my best sellers, and Isis: The Main Event, also available in paperback and Kindle format right now. And you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. So I would really appreciate if you pick up some of my books, because I had a blockbuster month last month, and I want to keep the momentum going. And I can't keep the momentum going without you guys, so I'm really asking you guys to go out here and pick up some of these books. And when I think about Halle Berry, sadly, again, she really needs to come to God. She really needs to come to Christ. I mean, her spirit is in, as I see it, a very bad place, and she needs spiritual guidance, because her spiritual foundation is one of the reasons why she's a woman in crisis, and she's a woman who desperately needs help, as I see it. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's live stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream. I have another video coming up talking about Ray Fisher at midnight, so if you want to check that one out, you'll be able to check it out on midnight. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream. I hope you'll be there for next week's stream.